Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the Cinematic Trinity podcast, the podcast where we delve into the worlds of movies, TV shows and video games. I am once again joined by
Kieran
and
Tulip.
And you're probably wondering, where have you guys been for the last 5 months? What's this hiatus been about?
Well, everybody's been wondering,
I know
clearly.
Well, our two listeners, your mum and dad, will know where we've been for the last 5 months. But me and Tulip got married very recently. And wedding prep is very...
stressful?
Yeah, very stressful. Very
Stupid?
stressful. Yes, yeah, all of the above. All of the above. But we're back with you now because now we're settling into this new series of the podcast. We're going to be taking a look back a month ago because the finale of The Last of Us Season 2 happened last month. And we had some thoughts as it was going on, so now we're going to reflect back 1 month later on, was it good, was it bad? We'll see. So, The Last of Us Season 2, let's get into it. So yes, the second series of The Last of Us is another adaptation of the hit video game series The Last of Us. The second season is following the second game, or at least the first half of the second game.
Yes.
So it picks up 5 years after the first season. Joel and Ellie are a bit estranged. What's going on here? And basically antics do ensue. It's hard to go point by point without doing the spoiler section, but it does follow Ellie more this time around. But obviously Joel is also there, and it's kind of like what they're like 5 years after and where their journey takes them and what horrors of the apocalypse await them.
Exactly.
In series 2.
Exactly. So I feel that I feel like I enjoyed this series a little bit more. Maybe towards the start there was some funnier bits, but the more that I compare it to the game, the less I like it, the more I think about it. But as I was watching it, there were a few episodes that I enjoyed towards the beginning, but it kind of slowly declined in quality for me. And I feel like the last episode I didn't actually watch any of it.
You did not?
No, I did not. But I don't think that that's my fault. That's the show's fault for not keeping me engaged enough to be able to actually fully watch it. But there were some good moments in there, some funny moments. I really liked the chemistry between Ella?
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Between Ellie and Dina, if I'm saying that right. Between Ellie and Dina, I really like their chemistry. I actually think that those two together have better chemistry than Joel and Ellie ever had, with Pedro.
I say in the show, you mean?
In the show, obviously, with Pedro and Bella Ramsey playing them, Ellie and Dina have a lot more chemistry than Joel and Ellie, which is a shame, but that's probably why I enjoyed the earlier episodes of the show a little bit more, because you do get a bit more of their chemistry. And I think that Dina is quite well written as a character. Not as the character of Dina comparing it to the game, but as a character overall. I think that she's quite a good character. It's only the comparison where it starts to become more negative. So I thought that it was a little bit better. I enjoyed seeing more of the infected and the clickers and the stalkers and all that sort of stuff. I did enjoy seeing that because I think that we didn't get enough of that in the first series. So I'm glad that they kind of picked that up and listened to everybody. But that is my very brief initial thoughts.
And that's coming from someone who's not really played the game either.
Well, no, I've not played the game as much as you have, but I do know the story of the game, and I have not played it, but we did sit and play it together when it first came out. In fact, we sat Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and we played it you played it, I was watching, so I was just basically watching a film, of you playing it. And I feel like that's actually the most involved that I've ever been, with you playing a game and actually following the story. That's the most I've ever followed it, was The Last of Us Part 2, I think.
Yeah. Kieran, someone who's played the game more recently, obviously we did it last year in our review. What did you think of Series 2?
I think I definitely agree with Jill in that towards the start, I definitely thought, okay, this is much better. Because Season 1, we all had very mixed...
Yeah.
So the start of Season 2, where they were adapting some of those bits and, making minor changes in places, but like all kind of seemingly beneficial, or mostly seemingly beneficial.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was good. Obviously, the chemistry between Ellie and Dina.
You're doing it now.
It's because of Bella Ramsey.
Yeah.
With those two, especially Dina. I think Dina is like Dina, and her actress is the star of season 2.
She steals the show.
It's just a shame that some of the changes they make that involve her character shouldn't have been given to her. Like, they've taken parts. I mean, obviously that's going to get into spoilers and stuff, but yeah, it's started off much better than it ended, and I think we all just got a little bit, the more we compared it, the more we thought it could have been this. Why have they done that? It just made it a lot trickier to keep kind of backing it, if you know.
I get you. I get you.
Absolutely. And it's such a shame, because I feel like I really, really want to like it. I think, I don't know whether I do, but I think that I want to like it. I think I want to like it. But also, I just feel like it's a shame, you know, because do you know what I also think? It's like they're trying to make it for this other audience, which isn't us, because we've watched the games, played the games, sorry. We've played the games, we know a lot about the characters already. It's not made for us, it's made for the people that don't have any relationship to the game at all. And part of me is like, it's great that they get to experience the story, but then also it's like, just get them to play the game and don't be all like, oh, well, gaming's like for kids or whatever. Like, just play the game. Like, if you want to hear a good story or play a good story or watch a good story or be enthralled in a good story, just play the game. Like, it's just as good, if not better.
It's definitely the first time I've ever been on the side of like something I've experienced has been adapted. Like, I don't read books like in that way. Like, it's not like Harry Potter or Hunger Games. I'm not going into this with this like, I know this established property, how are they going to mess it up? But like with this I have, because it's a game I've played. And like the first season I was a lot more critical of, because I loved the first game. The second game is good, but it's not as good as the first game. So I feel like with this one it could take more liberties of what it does with the changes, but then there's still some like fundamental stuff they do where it's like, I don't agree with how this was handled. But it is interesting, as you say. I feel like it's making it for a TV audience, but then also like I'm sat there watching it being like, yeah, but they're not, it's not the same though. Like, they're getting a diluted version of this story, which like, because I think the crux, like the game is very miserable to like play. Like, it's a very like, obviously all this stuff happens, like the theme is about revenge and all this stuff. So it's not a light-hearted thing. The show does try and explore that, but it does also have this lighter undertone to some of the things, whether that's like how characters like react and how some of the characters are like written compared to the game, especially like Ellie, as we'll get into it. But I think, as you say, it did trail off towards the end, because that's when the comparisons were getting a bit more, why is it doing this? Why is it doing this?
It becomes a lot more heavier in the story, doesn't it? The story gets a lot more complicated, and that's when it gets diluted.
And I feel a lot more important bits that happen that you want to be right.
Yeah, and when like, if you, because obviously like TikTok kind of flooded again with like Last of Us content, when you're like listening to people's reviews, or like if you get like snippets or like behind the scenes and it's like them explaining why they did certain things, it's like I don't really agree with that, you know. Or like towards the end of this series where it comes out, Craig Mazin says, I think we might need like 2 more seasons after this to adapt the full game. It's like, why do you need 4 seasons of The Last of Us, like 3 of which to adapt 1 game? Like the pace, I feel like that's ultimately the pacing of this season what was to its detriment, because it was like 2 or 3 episodes less than the last season, and like you can tell it just feels rushed in some ways, because it ended exactly where I thought it was going to end, because it has this natural point in the game anyway, but like getting there, it just felt like, what are we doing? Why are we cutting these bits out? Why are we rushing these bits? You know,
I almost feel like, because what the game is trying to do is it's trying to do something that is completely fresh and new and innovative, and that's why a lot of people had a lot of negative reactions to the game initially, obviously because there's a major plot point, which we won't spoil, but there's a lot of the story caused a lot of controversy, but also the nature of the game and how it builds and the way that you play it is totally different to probably any other gaming experience. So it's really difficult to create that same experience in a TV show environment, because you just can't tell the story in the same way that it is told in the game. So, but they've almost tried to do it. They've tried to tell it in the same way, but they know that they can't do it in exactly the same way, because otherwise nobody's going to watch the second series, essentially. They know that they need to have a little bit of context to what's happening and why characters are making certain decisions. They need that to draw people back in for the next series. Whereas with a game, it's different. You just have to keep playing. Obviously, you can stop if you want to, but once you've bought it, who cares? You've spent the money, but with TV, it's different. So it just almost feels like the second story isn't as well suited to the medium of a TV show compared to what it is as a game, I think. And I think that is probably the biggest thing that should have made them say, actually, should we just do something completely different? Should we completely disregard the game, tell the same story, but tell it in a completely different way? But they've tried to do best of both worlds, and I don't think it's paid off for them, unfortunately.
I think to kind of get into the more, not technical stuff about the season, but overall performances is probably the main thing. Obviously everyone's talking about it in some way or another, negative or positive. I think on the whole, everyone, performances, it's a well-made show. I feel looks-wise it looked good. Performances, everyone did a good job. The scripts let them down.
Yes.
Some let particularly some people down. But Pedro is good in it. Bella, again, for what Bella has, she's good in it as well. And as you're saying, Dina's actress, I think Isabella Marced, she was a standout.
She's really good.
She is the same but different Dina from the game. She's a lot more jokey and again, how we get into it, her role in the partnership she has with Ellie has switched up a bit. But then you got returning people. Jeffrey Wright is in it, who plays Isaac in the video game. He plays him again in the series. He I think him and Isabella probably stole the season for me.
And
in terms of
Isabella, was she Dora the Explorer?
She
or
was
did
Dora
I
the
dream
Explorer.
that?
Yes, because
right.
that was
in the live action version of Dora the
Yes.
Explorer.
Because there's the meme of when her and Ellie go off and start packing her bags. It's just Dora the Explorer's helping Ellie with survival instincts, But honestly, they were good. I think on the whole, they were really, really good. I feel there's some good emotional. Bless you.
Sorry.
There's some good emotional scenes in here. Have you got a fungus? Have you got cordyceps?
Well, I better not do, Jesus.
But what did you guys think? Because I know, particularly Bella Ramsey has had a lot of hate put their way.
Yeah, I don't agree with the hate that they're getting, because ultimately, when you consider they're working with a script, they're doing the best job they can with that script. A lot of people have a lot of scrutiny whether they were the right person for the role. That's neither here nor there really, because at the end of the day they were chosen for the role.
Yeah.
So you can't change that.
Yeah.
I think they did do a very good job. I think they were better than they were in season 1.
I agree.
I think they've improved. But again, ultimately, it's the bits that they changed from the games for Ellie's character in particular.
Yeah.
I didn't like at all.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of my kind of I don't like that, but that's something for the creators of the show, the script writers, rather than Bella Ramsey as an actor.
Exactly. Do you know what it's very similar to? It's very similar to the latest series of Doctor Who, because I absolutely love Ncuti Gatwa. I think he's fantastic. He's a fantastic actor, and I think that everything that was put in front of him, he did his absolute level best with. But it doesn't mean that the script was good, and I think it's the same thing here. The decisions that were made and the script that was there, they did their absolute best with it. But it doesn't make for a great show, or it doesn't mean that I agree with the way that they've gone, the route that they've gone down with it. Which is a shame.
And of course the other again, we're not going to go into it too much, but Caitlin Dever I thought as well was really good in the show as Abby, which very different. That's her and Bella Ramsey are the two where it's they don't look anything like the video game characters. That's where the internet proper kicked off.
And it's difficult because what people have been saying about Bella Ramsey is disgusting.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it's absolutely disgusting, and it almost reminds me of the comments that people were making about the game, about Abby in the game, before the game came out, and there were all the leaks regarding the game, which was
like,
a major thing that happened.
For context, in the game, Abby is like this muscular. Sorry.
You're stealing me thunder, babe.
Oh,
Come on.
It's been a while since you've done a podcast.
It's been a while, but you're still interrupting me just the same as you always used to. Come on.
Oh, no.
Be better.
Married life didn't change this. Sorry. After you.
Continue. I will.
All right,
Continue, I will.
Sorry. It's because I said continue. No. There is me who's talking.
Brilliant.
Oh,
okay.
Off to a good start.
Oh, God. Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's to be a staple.
Yeah.
Oh.
Continue, I will.
Anyway. Oh, God. Anyway, got tears in my eyes. So, what was I saying? So the hate for Bella Ramsey reminds me a lot about the hate that Abby got before the Last of Us game came out, because there were a load of leaks. This was a massive, massive thing at the time. Pretty much the entire game got leaked, and it meant that everybody could form their opinions without actually playing it, which I think caused it a lot of detriment at the time, and why it was so badly hated was because of the fact that it was all through leaks. But anyway, a lot of the story regarding Abby, obviously we don't know her story in the TV show yet, so I'll only be brief, but as Michael alluded to...
As in, like, sorry, her portion you don't know. Her backstory
exactly.
you do
know.
know.
You know her backstory, but you don't know her. So anyway, she is very muscular because she did that for herself, so she can fight the battle that she wants to. She trained, essentially, to fight that battle, which means that she has a certain physique, because that is what naturally happens when you train and when you lift weights or whatever. Not that I do that, as you can tell. That's why she looks the way she does. So when we are comparing how Abby looks in the game to how Abby looks when Caitlin Denver is playing her...
So Caitlin Denver?
I thought it was Diva. You keep saying Denver.
I said Diva, didn't I?
You said Diva this time. I don't know about like previous
I
times.
Right. Caitlin
I don't know how
Diva.
much you talk about Caitlin Diva.
We talk about her a lot, to be honest. I don't know how, but we have. So anyway, the comparison between the game Abby and TV show Abby is totally different to what everybody's saying about Bella Ramsey, because they're just attacking her appearance. I'm so glad that we can crop out Kieran's smiling here in the video. But it's annoying because when you look at Abby in the TV show, you don't look at her in the same way as you do Abby in the game, because she's like a powerhouse in the game, and you don't see the same physically from Abby in the TV show. That's what I'm trying to say. But it's nothing against Caitlin Diva or the way she looks. It's just that comparison, and also the fact that there's a story behind why she looks that way and why she behaves the way she does that you learn. That's why it's frustrating, basically. So, but do you actually agree with that? That took me a long time to get that out.
It's one of those things that's like such a, in my mind, Abby is this, I mean, for lack of a better word, warrior.
Yes.
Like, she is physical peak.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
she's trained herself to get to that point to achieve what she needs to achieve.
Yeah.
That's visual storytelling.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in the show, which again is a casting choice. It's nothing against Caitlin Diva. That's what the showrunners decided. That's their vision.
Yeah. It is weird because they tried to comment on it being like, well, in the game they made Abby that way for gameplay purposes to like differ her from Ellie's sections of the game. It's just like, yeah, but there was also storytelling behind that though. You can't like...
Yeah,
can't be like, oh, well, we didn't mean to make her muscular, you know.
Yeah,
like,
because everything, I can tell you now, every single thing would have been so thought out in that game. It would have been thought out literally to within an inch of its life, you know. So there's absolutely a reason behind it. Yeah, no,
it didn't make any sense. But I mean, me too, like beforehand, we watched a few shows that Caitlin Diva was in, because I know I was a bit like, I don't know, I've not heard of her before. What's it going to be like? So we watched Apple Cider Vinegar, and she was in Dope Sick, and really, really good. And like again in
She's
this,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
She's a fantastic actress. Got a lot of respect
and
for her.
like in this, really good. Like she does this good mixture of like grief and rage and all this kind of, and like she's a good character. I think well portrayed apart from just the physical side of it.
And that's the thing, but as certain things happen with future seasons, it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust certain things.
I think Abby's like, this isn't even spoiler, Abby's part of the game is a lot more action orientated compared to Ellie. So it is, are they going to sacrifice anything because of the choices they've made, kind of thing?
Should we just make it clear about what the structure of the game is, or is that veering too much into spoilers?
No. I mean, it's basically you play as Ellie for the first half, and then you switch to playing as Abby.
Yeah.
And then,
so you know nothing about Abby apart from the fact that she's kind of about.
Yeah.
You know of her, and then you play as her. So that's what gets people's back up, is because they absolutely love this character of Ellie, and then they're forced to play as this other character. But that's why it's so groundbreaking,
especially after like the fresh salt in the wound of what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a very, and this is why I think that it can't be told in the same way to go through something with a character. It's imagine if there was a series of TV and then you see something that from the villain's perspective. People might still watch it out of intrigue, but when you love that character, so you don't want to understand what the problem with the villain is. You don't care about them the same way that you do about those main characters that you've grown with.
Well, it depends on the writing, isn't it? Because it's like Game of Thrones, isn't it? Like you love the Starks, but you'll still watch the Lannisters because they're equally as like interesting.
It's making compelling characters that, despite their flaws, you're still interested in what their story is.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm interested to see. We'll go into like spoilers in a second after we do our ratings, but I'm interested to see for a third season, because it is going to follow Abby. They've come out and said that it's going to be an Abby-centric season. What like the return of it is going to be like viewership wise, like how many people are going to come off, because obviously there was a point in this season where people dropped off a little bit, because I did see the finale of this season was like a 30% decrease from like the first episode.
Oh really?
Yeah, because it was like 9 million people watched the first episode and then 6 million people watched the last episode. So obviously there is this decline happening. So if people said, "Oh, you want to watch a whole season of this new character?" would people be like, "Hell yeah," So I don't know. I'd be interested to see, but I think we should go into spoilers now to go into a bit more detail about our thoughts. But generally, we've changed the scoring system yet again.
Kieran's just going to have to get a grip.
Yeah.
All we'll do, we've already decided that if you can't think of a number, we're going to do Kieran out of 10, and that's going to be the way.
And I'll put a picture of your face next to the scoring system,
and it would just be like the varying levels of my emotions.
Yeah. Although I feel like in your case for this season, if we was to be your old score, I feel like it's all right. It's all right.
Oh come on! No.
But no, for me this is like
don't do it.
No. For me this is very much.
much.
I don't know if a 5 out of 10 is too harsh for it. I'd probably go for a 6, just because again the like performances and like the production value of the show.
Production value is absolutely fantastic. Like the design of everything, the way that the infected look, fantastic. Honestly, it's always going to be top notch. I almost feel like it's hard to go wrong with those sorts of things, like with the talent that's out there at the moment. It's such a cliche thing to like compliment, because that's the standard now that we're at, but it is very good. Performances good. It's just the story. It's just, do you resonate with the story or not? And unfortunately, we don't resonate it. I would rather play the game.
So
or watch Michael play the game.
What would you score it?
I don't know. I think maybe like a 6.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say 6.
Okay. Me and Tulip 6. What about you, Kieran?
I agree with those things you're saying, that it is good on production value, good at like actors and actresses, good soundtrack, all of that stuff. For me, while you could rate it on those things, it's entertainment. So I want to rank it purely based on how much I enjoyed it.
Well, exactly. That's exactly what you should be doing. That's That's exactly what you should be doing, Kieran.
And if it was, say, the first episode, I'd maybe go, oh, hopeful. Maybe this is like a 7, maybe an 8.
Yeah.
Overall, 4.
Ooh.
Harsh. But no, I respect that. I respect that.
Maybe if I hadn't played the game, I would rate it a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But as we've been saying, the longer it went on, the more changes I saw, the less reason I saw for those changes, the more it just grated away.
No, which is fair enough.
And, as it went on, the score kind of went down.
No, that's fair enough.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, let's talk a little bit more in depth. Let's talk about the spoilers and also just do a little bit of a comparison of game versus TV show, what they've changed.
Yeah, so this is your spoiler warning for the second season of The Last of Us TV show, and this is borderline spoiler warning for the third season and the second half of the game. So let's get into it.
Spoilers ahead.
So yeah, to go through like the deviations. So the first main thing which you see from the very outset is they do show Abby's motivations for why she does what she does. And that is because Abby's dad was killed by Joel at the end of the first season when Joel killed all the fireflies in that hospital. And Abby's dad was one of them. So Abby is on this revenge quest to kill Joel. So there's a flashback at the very beginning of the show which shows her outside the hospital and basically, we need to find Joel. So you as the viewer know immediately, this doesn't bode well for Joel Miller right now.
We're using full names now,
Joel
are
Miller,
we?
yeah.
Joel Miller.
Ellie Williams, is that her name? I think it's Ellie Williams.
What?
I don't know.
Oh,
Williams.
Williams.
Yeah.
I've never
Abby
known that.
Anderson. Yeah.
Where are you getting all these names from? They don't have surnames in the apocalypse, surely.
That's all you're getting. That's all I know.
Well, you know Tommy Miller.
Tommy Miller, yeah.
Oh.
Hey!
So you get that from the outset. You know what she's doing, which like in the game you don't find that out until it's the perspective switch to Abby, because like Abby kills Joel, you play as Ellie, and then you find out why did Abby do what she do? It's because her dad was at that hospital. So it's a bit like they did it.
Do you think it's stupid or not that they revealed that right at the beginning?
I think it takes away from one of the big parts of
Yeah.
Because when you're playing as Ellie, you have the same emotion that she has, because you're
100%.
like, this person who I don't know has just come in and killed Joel. I want to kill them.
Yeah.
And that's the emotion the game wants you to have as well.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you're in the same vein as Ellie. You're pushing the story because you want to, and like
Exactly.
Ellie, your goals are aligned.
Yeah.
And then as you progress further through the story, it kind of unravels as to what's happening. Like because you have the flashbacks with Ellie and Joel, and you see certain things, and then it slowly comes out, and you realise the kind of full picture a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then that's when it goes to Abby.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, now I've got to play this person that I've spent the past 12 hours hating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's difficult to come to terms with, but that's something that you can't recreate.
It's the ultimate.
Exactly. Yeah, this is what I mean. You can't recreate that exact specific feeling that you would get with a game.
Yeah.
You can't recreate that same feeling again. And do you think that even if they were going to reveal it, like was it in the very first episode that
Yeah.
like surely they could have been at least halfway through.
It was second episode that they reveal.
Yeah, second. So the first episode is when it basically Abby's looking for Joel.
Yes.
And then the second episode when Joel dies, she does a whole speech about.
I did not like the extended speech. It could have been like a little bit, and then Joel could have interrupted like he does in the game.
I know, like I recording like cinematic footage for this episode as well, like watching that cutscene back from the game, like. It is also the difference between show Joel versus game Joel. I feel like game Joel is kind of a man of few words, or like what he does say packs weight. Because in that, like he hardly speaks to Abby, and it's the whole like, say whatever speech you got rehearsed and get this over with. Like he just does not care. Whereas like in the show, he does let Abby explain it, and he gets to a certain point where he goes, "Oh, shut up and do it already." It's just like, what more was she gonna say?
Yeah.
But it is very much like, my dad was a doctor in this hospital and you shot him. You shot an unarmed doctor and now I'm going to kill you. And it's just...
it's really spelling it out to
I
the
think
point. Like, it's not giving viewers credit.
I think
Yeah.
maybe I could have let that slide. I think probably for me is the fact that they do it like 2 more times after that, because then like Nora later on is like, don't you know what Joel did? He killed this doctor who was Abby's dad. It's just like, okay, we know. And then Ellie has to explain it to Dina. It's just like, yes, we know what Joel did. And you try and like, you know, maybe Abby is justifying her actions. We know. Like,
exactly. And that's the whole point. That's what you learn in the game, because you almost think to yourself, oh, for God's sake, like, actually there's a consequence, you know, and what now I'm going to learn what it is.
I remember like playing the game for the first time, and when it's that thing to Abby and then you see the hospital in the background of her flashback, I was like, oh crap, this is where we are. So that was a really cool like reveal.
Yeah.
Whereas you just don't really get that in the show. Like now you won't anyway. Like I don't know how series 3 is going to start or whatever. But that's one of the bigger things. They unveil that motivation first, because the show kind of does like to kind of take the mystery away, and like rather than save it for future series, it like just wants to spell it out.
The only reason why it would want to do that is because it's a TV show, and because they need you to watch the next series. They need that Abby to be a more established character, so that you return to watch her. Exactly, yeah. And it almost feels like it's not as, when you were saying that the game's like really like miserable, it's almost like TV shows can't be as miserable as that, because it's for a much wider audience, and they want a wider audience to see it, so you can't make it as gritty.
Which
and,
they do, yeah.
You know,
they
like,
do comment on that. Because it's like, again, like in the game, you could play Ellie as like this murderous, like you'll kill everyone in the map, you'll stealth kill, you kill dogs in the game, which like she doesn't do it in the show, because it's kind of like, that's a step too far. Like we can't let...
Yeah.
You won't relate to TV show Ellie, which is
I
like,
respect. I don't want to see any dogs die.
But then like, yeah, which like that's another deviation, is again like their handling of like Ellie's character, because she's definitely like, again, she's not as like, I wouldn't say as fearsome in like...
It's the same thing they did to Joel though, isn't it?
Hmm.
They kind of, in an attempt to make them more relatable to a wider audience, they take away a lot of what they will have built up from being in an apocalypse. They're trying to, you know, Joel in the show is very like, you know, very emotional and, you know, very kind of quite open with his emotions.
Yeah.
Whereas game Joel, like if someone tries to get some emotion out of him, his walls are back up. He gets very defensive, and that's his defense mechanism for being in this situation and having lost the people he's lost.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you know, that's kind of where some of the flaws in their relationship kind of show best, because then Ellie, having like, well, inherited Joel as a father figure, sees those things and kind of almost gets some of those character flaws.
Yeah.
I suppose it's kind of happened in the same way in this, but the wrong flaws. I don't know. Less enjoyable.
I just feel like the decisions that the characters make in the game, in the show, they're making them because that's what happens in the game.
Yes.
But it's not because that's the character's motivation and how they would act. You don't believe that the characters would do these things and act this way. Like,
I think,
you know.
Yeah, because it gets to a point where, like, Ellie in the show isn't as competent as Ellie in the game.
Absolutely
and
not.
Swings and roundabouts kind of thing. Like, in making Dina a good character in the TV show, they also bring Ellie down, because Dina is like the brains, she does all the prepping. If Ellie like throws out a suggestion, Dina's like, well, that's stupid. You know, it's just like...
They kind of demean Ellie a lot.
To boost up Dina. Yeah, which is a shame, because like Ellie is competent. Like, again, she's been through this apocalypse. She's obviously been on that journey with Joel. She knows what she's doing. She's not like an idiot, which is kind of what the show treats her like. If, you know, like if she's making loud noises, or if it's like, I don't just pull my gun out and shoot things. It's like, no, Ellie would get a bow and then like put a silencer on her gun in the game. Like, yes, you're right. So that definitely does hurt her, and especially to a point where when Dina says she's pregnant, like Ellie in like episode 4 or 5, I think, says, we can go back if you want, now you're pregnant. It's like, Game Ellie didn't want that. Game Ellie found out Dina was
angry.
pregnant. Yeah. she found out Dina was pregnant, was like, well, you're a burden now, aren't
Yeah.
you? Like, what are you doing, you idiot, kind of thing. Whereas, like, in the show, she's like, oh, we can head back if you want. And then it's up to Dina to, like, instill this, no, we're on a revenge quest, you know? It's like...
Yeah, it's like,
you know,
why is Dina so, like, don't worry, we'll get him, I'll do whatever you want to do, like, whatever it is, it's fine, like, I love Joel as well, you know, it's like, what's your... Why are you making those decisions, and why are you saying these things? Because you're not in Ellie's shoes. Like, it should be Ellie that is the driving force, and you're the one who should be like, well, I'm here with you on this journey because I love and care about you, but really, you know, you're being a little bit, you know, rash. You know, you should try and, like, pull it in a little bit, but it seems that it's the opposite way.
I think it depends how the show goes, but I feel like later on, where that kind of, like, desire for Dina to be like, yes, revenge is the best way forward, when, like, Ellie's story takes her in the game, like in the third or fourth series, wherever it's going to go, like that, I'd be interested to see how they frame that, because, like, Dina is egging Ellie on, but it will get to a point where, like, it's not viable for Dina to be egging her on, which happens in the game. So I don't know how the show is going to, like, address that, because it's been like, well, you encouraged this.
Yeah.
We could have turned back and went home, you know.
But then, like, they also had, when Ellie... Because Ellie told Dina what Joel did.
Yeah.
Which I don't think happened in the game.
No.
And at that point, it goes from Dina being like, oh, yeah, we need to kill this Abby person, to, we're going home now.
Yeah.
We're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, that... Such a massive shift.
Yeah.
It really... The changes they made earlier made that a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, to kind of tie in with, like, their Seattle journey, obviously Dina and Ellie go to Seattle in, like, episode 3 or 4 to go find Abby. But, like, in the game, their reason for going is because Tommy goes before they do, whereas in the TV show, Tommy doesn't go at all. It's Ellie and Dina go first, and then Tommy and Jesse follow afterwards. Which I know, for, like, me and you, were like, why is Tommy not here?
Yeah. It was after, like, the Battle of Jackson, and then going into, like, they had the meeting, and then, like, it was 3 months later.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh no, stop.
I think episode 3 is definitely the weakest episode in the series, because that is, they do this time jump, which they don't do in the video game, and it's just like, it's a breather episode. I get that, because obviously the TV viewers is like, oh my god, we just lost Joel, like, we need time to process this, whereas, like, in the game it's like, let's go to Seattle, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like, you know, in 3 months, if it's 3 months before they decide to actually go and try and find these people, like, a lot can happen in that time. Like, you know, Abby herself could have died for unknown reasons. You know, it's not like we're chasing them back, you know, because that's kind of what it's like. You're kind of just chasing after them, whereas now it's like, no, it's completely different. Like, it's all changed. Like, so much can change in that time.
That, like, kind of journey.
Yeah, and it's unnecessary to do that time jump. And I also do think I didn't really like the whole fact that Ellie does a speech and it's like down to the town and stuff like that. Like,
the council.
I just really didn't like that, because I just thought Ellie just wouldn't do that. Like, the real Ellie, you know, in the game, she wouldn't do that. She doesn't care, you know, what anybody else thinks. She's never cared. She just does what she wants. She's not there for the good of the community. You know, she could not care less. She just wants to do her own thing. You know, so it just doesn't. And it seems pointless. You know, it doesn't add anything to the story for them to do that. You know,
in the game, it's like very much again like Tommy and her have a conversation. And Tommy's like, look, I can try and talk to Maria. We can try and get some people, but give me some time. And, like, Ellie's like, well, I want to go. Like, you know, if you're not coming with me, I'm going. Like, screw you. I'm going to go by myself. Whereas it's not like that in the show, because again, it's like, well, 3 months went by and you didn't do anything. You know.
Yeah.
Just the pacing, like that episode, you could have gone straight to Seattle, like in that episode, and then had like an extra episode to try and maybe put in some stuff that they cut out from the game. Because obviously they do shrink down Abby's crew as well, like the number of people, which is not the end of the world. But it is, you get some satisfaction in the game when you kill Jordan, who's like one of the people who was there when Joel died. And that's like, oh, Ellie means business. you know. Whereas that doesn't happen in the show. Ellie doesn't kill any of Abby's crew until Nora, which is episode 5 out of like a 7-episode season.
And that was really jarring, that kill as well, because it went from like Ellie being this very vulnerable kind of character to her going into the same way she was in the games.
Exactly.
And it's exactly what you said. That happens in the game, so it has to happen in the show.
Yeah.
But this character is not at that point where they're going to be doing this.
Yeah.
Which is like a shame, because like that bit's performed really well.
It was really was really good. I enjoyed that scene.
Bella Ramsey's really good in that scene, so it's just kind of like, well, why can you again give her a script which would make it consistent, because you can't be like laughing and joking and then this murderous Ellie and then like towards the end this like, oh no, I want to go home, you know, Ellie. So I don't know, it's just really lets it down, the script. Like when you look back on these things, it really lets it down. Other like ever minor things, there's no shamblers, the infected who like burst out spores and stuff, like they're really cool, and they have acid spores. They're a really nice infected enemy to fight.
Not nice infected to be,
but cool, cool.
Blows are the big guys, aren't they?
Blows the big guys.
No Joel killing the blower.
No, yeah.
I mean, again, we said this. Joel's character in the show is not at a point where he would just kill a bloater with a machete.
They aged him up, I think, in the show, didn't they? To make him old.
Big mistake.
But I love that scene in the game.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's like the flashback episode is probably one of the best episodes of this series, where it's Joel and Ellie, and it's basically the format's good because it's like episode 6 again out of this 7 episode season cuts back to Ellie and Joel's like relationship before he died, and it's like every year is Ellie's birthday, so it like shows how their relationship deteriorated every year. So it does the thing from the game where they go to the museum. That's pretty faithfully told. Very good segment. Again, both actors doing their best in a good way. And then it shows like their home life as well, like Joel and like Ellie obviously like getting into relationships and stuff, and it's just him being a full-on dad, like trying to come to terms with it. Again, really, really good. They do change up how like Joel's lie gets exposed, which I'm of two minds whether I like it or whether I don't like it. You're making faces, so I don't know. That means you don't if you don't like it.
Yeah, I think after the episode happened, we kind of, I think, did like discussed it kind of.
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense for the. I'm trying to remember it myself now.
So in the show, in the game, Ellie goes to the hospital and then finds out from there what Joel did, because Joel like rides there and then tells her the truth of like how he massacred the hospital.
Because isn't she trying to find out what happened? Like she doesn't believe him and she's trying to figure it out.
There's an extra flashback in the game where it's the bloater one. So they go to a hotel and they find like these 2 dead bodies, and then they get talking again about the cure, and she's like, oh, are you sure the cure wouldn't have worked? And then Joel's like, yes, I'm sure, like there was no cure. So the lie just continues. But in the show, it is one of Ellie's birthdays. She goes out on patrol with Joel for the first time. They come across Eugene, who's a member of the Jackson community. He's been bitten. He has time to go and see his wife before he dies. So Ellie obviously is encouraging that, yeah, come on, Joel, let's go say bye to his wife, give him that at least. And then Joel says, I promise Ellie, we'll go get the horses. I'll be right there. And then Joel kills Eugene, like Mercy kills him, but obviously goes against Ellie's wishes, goes against Eugene's wishes. And then they go back to Jackson and Joel lies to Eugene's wife. And that's where it clicks for Ellie of, oh, Joel just lied really easily there. Therefore, what he said about the hospital was also a lie.
I think that's a bit silly, isn't it? I get that you can just tell when a person's lying and you know when they're lying and that's it, and I think that's real life. But I just think that that's a bit silly. And I also just think that Ellie could have disagreed with the fact that Joel killed Eugene after he'd been bitten and that they could have got him home and stuff like that. But also it's like you're not just taking Joel down, you're taking everybody else down with you, and like you're creating a horrible last memory for his wife, and stuff like that. That was what annoyed me about that scene, to be honest. It was like, why are you saying this in front of her? Why not just pull him for a chat later, and talk about it? But I do think that's a little bit silly, and I just think that you know, I don't know, what happens in the game again?
As in that
They go to the hospital.
Ellie rides off to the hospital, finds basically evidence of what happened there, and then Joel follows her, and then she confronts him there to be like, what happened here?
Yeah.
I think what they should have done in the show is after Joel shot Eugene, Ellie should have said, "Tell me what happened."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
she should have been like
yeah.
full of emotion. Tell me what happened, or I'm never talking to you again.
Yeah.
He tells her. Then
Mm-hmm.
they go back to Jackson. Joel lies again. Ellie has a moment where she says to Eugene's wife, storms off, doesn't speak to Joel until they're on the porch again.
Yeah.
Because he says that to her while they're on the porch. I didn't like that.
The pacing is kind of off again. Like the porch scene, like that's the penultimate thing that happens before Joel dies. Like that is where him and Ellie talk again and they try and reconcile, basically, because it's in the game. It comes at the very end of the game, so you kind of like, because you think when you're playing through the game that they never got a chance to like reconcile, because you see all these flashbacks. Ellie finds about the lie, she hates Joel. You think she still hates Joel up until he dies, but then this flashback gives you, the player, like this comfort at least that yes, they tried, but then also adds to the tragedy of like, oh no, they were this close to like fixing things and like being friends again. So in the show they pretty much do the conversation like beat for beat, which is fine, but they have to shove in the thing with the lie, and like he explains that to her, but then the conversation plays out normally. So it's like, because you know, in the context of the game, obviously Ellie's had time to process the lie, and that's when she confronts Joel and goes, I was meant to die at that hospital and you took that from me, but I want to try and forgive you for this. Whereas like in the show, it's very much like, this is what happened, you were meant to die at the hospital, and then like she has to like process it in the moment and be like, well, I guess I can forgive you for that.
Yeah, she doesn't have the time, and that I think, because you really lose out on that, where Ellie is as angry at Joel as she is throughout the opening scenes of the game. Not having that kind of deep-seated resentment over a period of time, you can kind of see that, and just forgiving instantly.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's again, the script kind of lets it down, which is a shame, because episode 6 was the best one.
It was.
Because it was nice to just see the chemistry between the two characters as well. Like they kind of worked off.
It's a shame that we didn't really get that chemistry in season 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Shame.
What else have we got on our notes here? So Battle of Jackson was also a big change. That doesn't happen in the game at all.
Let's talk about that, because I think that that's positive.
Yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
if you two are going to agree with that, Kieran. You're looking as if you don't agree with that. But I think it's a positive, because I just think it was a bit of fun. Yeah, it was a bit of fun. Doesn't really affect the story too much,
in a way.
Like,
Tommy's not with Joel.
Yeah.
Again,
but again, they could have done it without doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like they could have worked it differently, but I think the battle in itself, the fact that there is a battle and that all these infected come running and they've got this whole strategy for how they're going to battle the infected, I think it is really good that you do see that, and how the community kind of bands together and how they prepare for it, you know, because I think it's good to see that they do prepare for instances like that, and it isn't all just, oh, everything's great all the time, and it's, you know, we have like we have like barn dancers and whatever. I think it's good to see the threat there, because I think that was a problem with season 1. There didn't feel like there was a lot of threat, whereas I think that brings the threat into it a little bit more. But I do get what you're saying, that they still could have played that a little bit differently and had that, and then, you know, but Tommy still could have gone off and stuff like that. Like they could have made that work, but I do think it was nice to have the battle going on while all this stuff was happening with Joel, and it's like, who do we care about more? Do we care about this one person, or do we care about like this whole town? I think that that's like a good like juxtaposition. But I do also agree about some of the other things that meant couldn't happen. You know, because of it. So
I don't mind the fact that they made the change. It's what resulted from that, like Tommy wasn't with Joel, and then Tommy didn't leave immediately because he was also, like, understandably, that like they've just killed his brother. He seems very calm in the show.
Yeah. Because he's got Jackson.
Because he's like, I've got Jackson to think about. I can't,
zone.
you know, I can't go off and take these people down because I've got a town.
I mean,
to
how
about.
like not cool, but how like powerful would it have been for him to say, nah, I don't care. Like, I'm still going after my brother. But
Yeah.
also, I feel like I don't know whether the relationship was strong enough between the two of them, like throughout the whole show,
they're
because it's a kind of tumultuous relationship anyway, isn't it, between those two?
Yeah, I think in the show, they're closer than they are in the game. Like, they're a bit more standoffish in the game, because obviously it's like Tommy respects Joel, but then also does harbour some resentment because of how Joel like protected them in the apocalypse, basically. And then obviously Tommy's happy now. He's found this little settlement. He's like in charge now. It's not his big brother looking after him anymore. Whereas like in the show, you get in that episode where they go to Jackson, it's obviously a very like warm embrace, and like Joel opens up to Tommy about like his anxiety over Ellie and all that kind of stuff. And they come to blows a bit, but yeah, I'd say in the show they're a lot more close, especially because Tommy has a kid in the show, so Joel is that kid's uncle, and it's like, oh, here's Uncle Joel, we love Uncle Joel. So I think in the show they are closer.
Do you think that almost makes it easier for him to say, actually, no, I've got to do my duty because my brother knows that I loved him, so I don't have to go running after him and avenge his death? Do you think it's almost because they have this tension and this, bit of a weird, twisted relationship in the game of kind of love-hate, that he almost feels like he then has to go out and avenge his death? But he doesn't do that in the game because he's not got that same motivation there.
Well, it's not to say he hates Joel in the game. It's just
I know, I'm just exaggerating. But
yeah, no, I don't know. I think they both both characters acknowledge, like both versions of Tommy acknowledge that if it was the other way around, maybe Joel wouldn't do it because like it's a reckless thing. Because Ellie's like very much like, well, if I die, Joel would have hunted down the people who killed me, and Tommy's like, no, like, but then that's probably Tommy coming from like Joel doesn't care about anything. He wouldn't do that for anybody, kind of thing. So no, it is interesting, but yeah, definitely the show does soften Tommy a bit because we got Jackson to rebuild. We just gone through this infected attack, so it does serve a purpose.
It's a recurring theme, isn't it, that every character is like softened, I think.
Yeah.
Every character is softened but moody.
Yes,
and that is evident in Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse. Yeah.
And the changes Jesse had, because at the start, I like the actor that played Jesse, and again, he did things really well. He just had a different script.
Yeah.
But the further along you get, and then like when Jesse comes to Seattle, and he meets Ellie, he's like, right, okay, I'm here to help now, essentially. And they work together up until a point. Like the only time that the only time I remember they really go to blows is when Ellie's like, I want to go after Abby.
Yeah.
And why have I forgotten his name? I literally just
Jesse.
Jesse said, no, we need to go help Tommy.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I really remember them going to blows in the game.
Yeah.
Because they are friends.
Yeah.
And Jesse understands why Ellie's there and has gone after to help them because he was only a day behind Ellie and Dina as well.
Yeah.
So again, there's that urgency and like everyone's trying to help so that everyone can come home.
Yeah.
You don't get that because Jesse's like, no, we're just going home.
He's a lot more like whiny and antagonistic in the show. Like he's very much like, I didn't want to come rescue you. Like I'm doing it because Tommy wanted me to. Kind of like, and now Dina's pregnant, so now you've endangered my future child's life as well as my like ex-girlfriend's. Like you, like I hate you, Ellie, but like you're
there's a lot of resentment.
Like you're the bad person in this situation. So no, definitely they are a lot more at each other's throats in it, and like the show as well does very much go, I'm a dad, I need to survive because I'm gonna be a dad, and then obviously Jesse dies at the very end, so it's kind of like game players didn't need to be like, oh well, I can't die here, and then we're like, yeah, Jesse's gonna die. Like Jesse's death comes out of nowhere, and there was no like, oh, Jesse has stakes, Jesse can't die. I don't know. So there is some weird treatment of his character in the show.
Yeah. Can we talk about the fact that the scene with, am I dreaming this? With Ellie, with the
scars.
Yeah.
Oh yes, in the finale, yes.
Because to me, this is the biggest thing.
Oh yeah.
What
hell was going on there?
Yeah. So Michael, do you want to explain?
Right. So this doesn't happen in the game.
Or it happens very differently in the game.
Well, it's just not
to a different character.
Different character. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So,
That was
yeah.
very different. It's doing
So,
a completely
yeah.
different character.
Finale episode, Ellie's tracked down Abby to this aquarium. So she's going to go to the aquarium and find Abby. She gets in a boat, gets washed up on the shore of this island, which is the Scar Island. The Seraphites are this faction in the show, in the game, who are like this ultra-religious cult who's at war with Abby's faction, the WLF. So Ellie washes up on this island, gets found by a bunch of Scars, and then they try hanging her, and then she gets saved because their island's under attack, and they decide not to kill her. Doesn't happen in the game at all. If anything, it kind of harkens back to something that Abby gets, because Abby gets kidnapped by Seraphites in the game and then nearly hung. But then she gets saved by Yara and Lev, who will be her companions in the show and in the game.
So it introduces whole other people to the game in a way that is meaningful. Doesn't she get injured?
Yeah. I mean, it prompts the whole like Yara's quest. Like she gets her arm broken, so then Abby needs to help her.
Exactly.
out.
It prompts a whole story and a whole reason for you to be following Abby, and this is why it's like multiple days and stuff like that. And it's clear that, you know, that's obviously the reason, because of the way that it's shot in the TV show. It looks as TV show. Sorry, I said that weirdly. In the TV show, it's exactly the same like lighting and, you know, way that it's filmed to the game. So it's obvious that they're doing that because they think it's a really cool scene and they just want it in the show. And it's just like, just wait, like literally just hang in there.
It's a really bizarre placement for it.
Yeah.
Like
such a silly choice.
because she like Ellie's boat capsizes a good mile away from the island, I'd say, and she somehow washes up on the island. Boat right next to her. Gets kidnapped immediately. Gets freed immediately. Goes straight back to the boat with no issues, and then goes to the aquarium she was going to anyway. What was the point? It was just filler of something that is a really pivotal moment in the game for another character that they now can't use, or if they do use, people are going to go,
seen this before.
What are you doing?
Exactly, yeah. And it's not even going to be like, oh, this is what the Scars do. They hang people, they torture them, whatever. It's just going to hit differently, isn't it? Like when you've seen it all before, it's literally just going to be like, what is the point?
Yeah.
So what that to me is actually like
a weird
the biggest
addition.
thing. Because again, I wasn't really paying much attention to the end of it. I feel like I didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
And then when we were talking about it after, I was like, no, they didn't do that. Like, sure, I must have missed. Sure, I must have missed something here.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that is just baffling. Like, what is the purpose?
Yeah.
There's no purpose to that. Like, what's?
No, it
I
was
don't
odd.
understand.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's almost there in a way, because obviously they do show the WOF side of the story during this season. So it's kind of like there'll be a bit in series 3 where the island's under attack, and it's like, oh, it's the siren. Oh, Ellie's getting hung on a side of the island. At this point, it's like, doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. You know.
yeah, because it means nothing.
Yeah. It is weird.
Yeah. If I were to bring up something that they did in season 1 that they also did a little bit of in this season, it's where they made changes with, or like showed backstory of some of the characters.
Yeah.
Like Bill and Frank's episode in season 1 was the best episode of season 1.
Yep.
A bit that I enjoyed in season 2 is where they started, like how the WLF started, showing the Prophet and like Isaac interact. That, if they made an episode of that, I would have really enjoyed that, because that little short bit that we had, and then we see like that soldier that was with Isaac there later on as well. So you see that he's kind of, you know, now within the WLF. I don't know if they're going to do an episode of that in season 3, potentially.
Yeah, who knows,
But if they did an episode dedicated to that, dedicated to the backstory, rather than just kind of like a 5-minute scene.
Yeah.
That
I think it just goes to show that they can write something which is for the medium that it's in, TV, and they can write it for characters that aren't very well established, so they can do whatever they want with them and whatever they feel is right in the context of what is happening.
Yeah.
But they don't have that same freedom with these characters that we already know and care about. They don't have that freedom to do whatever they want.
The world building in the show's great. Like all the stuff they do is brilliant. Like even like them retroactively bringing spores back into it works in a way.
Yeah, I just wish they'd done it sooner.
I know. Yeah, but that's
what's the point?
Yeah,
You should have just done.
It,
You should have just played the game. Just play the game.
Yeah.
You know, like, who
I feel
cares?
like a Tales from the Last of Us show would be good. You know, that's all. Like,
yeah,
'cause it can flesh out the
selection
world.
of stories to see different parts of the world perfect.
Yeah.
Would have absolutely loved that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or even just a story like, let's do a UK based story. Let's see what happens in the UK
Yeah.
during The Last of Us times.
Yeah.
For a UK audience. Come on,
Yeah,
UK
exactly.
never get anything.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
some drama over here.
I think, to be fair, I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add at all about that season, but
No.
no.
No,
Do you have anything?
that
No.
was my one addition, was that talking about that last bit there. I've been thinking for about 10 minutes. I must remember to
Bring
talk
up the
about
hanging
this. I
scene,
must
bring up
remember
the
because it's
hanging
not
scene.
on that list there. I must remember
Yeah.
to talk about it.
But there's certainly more deviations than that, but those are the bits that stuck out to us as a whole.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was The Last of Us season 2.
What a shame.
I'll still watch series 3 when it comes out.
Will we though?
Yeah. I'll see what it's like. I say, because Abby
Part of
gets
me
the
doesn't even want to.
because Abby gets the more action orientated stuff, and because her again Caitlin Dever was good, I'll watch it for that.
Yeah, okay. We'll put some respect on Caitlin Dever's name.
Yeah,
We'll watch
exactly.
It. Okay.
But that is it for our comeback episode.
Oh, I'm so glad that we've come back and we've just been negative for an
We
hour.
really,
Spruce it up a bit.
positive
We have to.
times.
No, I think it was a mixed show. So we went over the good, we went over the bad, but we did nitpick the hell out of the deviations.
Yeah, we did.
But there you have it. That was The Last of Us season 2. Very mixed show, very mixed opinions. We were positive and negative, thankfully. But why don't you comment below? We've been away for 5 months. Was there anything in the past 5 months you wanted us to review that we missed out on? But as I do, comment below. We will see you guys in the next episode of the Cinematic Trinity. It's good to be back. It's good to be with you all, speaking to you, or letting us ramble in your ears, or on your TV screens, or on your phones. But in the meantime, we will see you guys next time. I've been Michael.
I've been Kieran.
And I've been Tina.